Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bianca Baltazari, and I am a sophomore here at our university, majoring in political sciences. I feel more than honored and privileged to represent the student body at UMass Boston as a student trustee. I'm especially honored that I have this opportunity this morning to introduce someone very special to our university. Dr. J. Keith Motley is not just a chancellor. He is a teacher and an advocate for urban public education. He is a leader and an agent of change, and he has a rare gift of connecting with and inspiring from all walks of life, from students to faculty to staff to our community members. Chancellor Motley is special because he believes in this university. He believes in us students. He believes in the power of our faculty to change lives. He believes in our capability to improve and better serve our community. He leads us, uniting us all to work together for this institution that we love so much, and we believe in him too. Without further ado, Chancellor J. Keith Motley.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So, good morning, everybody. Before we get started, there are chairs up front. So, even though it says reserved for X and Y, that's you. You know, we talked about the fact that everyone here on this campus is a chancellor. You lead from your space. And so, come on up to the chancellor's table and take your seat. I appreciate that. I also don't want to start without thanking everyone that had something to do with developing today. I want to thank all those who had some part of today, but also let's give a round of applause for our wait staff and everyone who's been waiting on us today. So good morning, everybody. I am so glad to see you. Thanks for showing up this morning, as you do every day, and taking a time out to be here with us, to talk about us and where we're going in the future. I also want to say that President Correct couldn't be here this morning, and then Senior Vice President Marcelette Williams found out that her namesake, her auntie, someone she loved tremendously, passed away yesterday. So she couldn't be here this morning. And so they will be represented by our Secretary of Education and also a Board of Trustee member, Paul Revel. He'll be here on behalf of President Correct and the university system. I'd also like to welcome members of our Board of Visitors, members of our Board of Trustees that happen to be here. All of you that are here this morning, thank you. There's someone who's really special here this morning, and she hates it when I do this to her, but I'm going to do it anyway. My professor for my freshman year at Northeastern, Dr. Irene Nichols, stand up so they can see you. I do it every time. She tries to hide. She tries to hide from me in the audience because she hates it when I do that. But I want to thank you for not allowing me to go to the back of the room and making me understand that having potential, not realizing it is a sin, and making that something that I learn every day. And so thank you. I also want to say to our visitors, elected officials, community leaders, our students, our staff, and our faculty, I'm so happy that you're here. Dr. Adrian Hagebro, who is the president of our University Alumni Association, and other members of that association who have joined us today. If you don't know, $1 million, an unprecedented gift from our Alumni Association to this campus to do amazing things. Provost Langley, Vice Chancellor O'Connor, undergraduate student president Travis Henderson, who met me in my office and told me he was going to contribute a long time ago, and he has. Graduate Student Assembly President Robert Goodwin. I have to say, you know, my last speech, Mr. Goodwin showed up with a sweatshirt on that said something else other than the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I think it said Oklahoma or something. And I had to call him out. Today, he got up here and shared his story in a way that talks about what it means to be a University of Massachusetts Boston person. And for that, we're so grateful. Thank you for sharing with us and for telling that story. It's inspirational, and it's why we all do what we do every day. Thank you so much, man. And I want to thank everyone who spoke before me for their words this morning. Finally, I'd like to welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Elizabeth Warren, who will be with us today. She's a much admired consumer advocate and an honored professor at the other University of Massachusetts, Boston, Harvard Law School. And probably the reason why this convocation all day is going to be full capacity. Everyone has been calling about whether or not Dr. Warren will be here today. But I can't conclude my special recognition without acknowledgement of my beautiful wife, Angela. I see they moved her from the center to the side today because I was so distracted at commencement by her beauty. So Allie has decided to do some leadership today and moved her on me. But remember, even though this is a lazy eye, I still see her out of that eye. She's an unbelievable part of my life, and it's a blessing every day to live in this world with you. So thank you for being here. Each of you is an important part of this university community. But what does that really mean, to be a part of the university community? Particularly our special distinction as a student-centered, urban, public research university. Now, if you've been with us for the other 4 convocations since I've become chancellor, you know that I've sort of shared with you year by year my sense of each of the individual elements of this phrase. Student-centered, urban, public, and some of you were on my case. I finally got to research. This morning, I'll explore the term university. Can it be that we who live university life every day can benefit from an exploration of what that signifies? I believe so. Now, I want to talk to you about us as a community of scholars, a community with a bond between teachers, staff, and students who engage in a process of co-discovery and who have a mission that is crucial to human rights, the preservation of intellectual capital, and the betterment of the public sphere. Some of these characteristics, which I will explore, are shared globally among universities. But we, at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, have unique assets that further our mission locally, nationally, and internationally. Now, like other universities, we've had to endure another year of budget constraints. I know you send me the emails, and yet we have witnessed groundbreaking at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate. We've started construction of our new integrated sciences complex. Now, I know some of you thought it was just a vision statement, and I couldn't wait till that dust started flying over there and that dirt started, because here on this campus, we don't just talk about it, we do it. And once we all start thinking like that, the world is ours. The foundation is near completion, ahead of schedule. And we're planning for our general academic building, and we're calling it General Academic Building 1, which all of you talented, brilliant intellectuals know means that 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are coming. And we're progressing on pace with everything that we do. But, as I will discuss, a university is about much more than just place. It's not a static entity. A university grows and it changes as its people grow and change. And we have some growth and we have some change to celebrate today. So bear with me while we go through a few of those things. Over the past academic year, we've created a new Office of Diversity and Inclusion and welcome Juan Nunez to guide this effort. Juan is here this morning. We've also launched the new Center for Community Democracy and Democratic Literacy, which Judith Kerwin has returned to us and she's heading. Our commitment to our urban mission is manifested in our recent research partnership with the national nonprofit Mentor Incorporated. Now, working with them, we've established the Center for Evidence-Based Mentoring at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Our very own professor, Jean Rhodes, serves as the research director, but in fact, Professor Rhodes was so critical to this effort and to this partnership that she also holds the Mentor National, their first national mentoring partnership endowed chair. Yes, that's worth applauding. Oh, but here's more. Our work in recognizing and eliminating disparities in cancer treatment and in care has been rewarded with a second, not a first, a second NIH grant for $13.7 million. Now, I know I've been saying 14, but 13.7 is cool too. $1 million over the 5 years to the UMass Boston Dana-Farber Harvard Cancer Center partnership. That's something to celebrate. The collaborators responsible are too numerous for me to sort of call out today, but you know who you are. You're in this room. I thank each and every one of you. We thank each and every one of you. Our new Center for Personalized Cancer Therapy received an initial $2 million in funding from the Massachusetts Life Science Center to build this important facility in our Venture Development Center. Now, in these tough fiscal times, the Collins Center at the McCormick Graduate School for Policy and Global Studies has established itself as the go-to good government resource across this Commonwealth, in Rhode Island, and soon across this nation. And we have grown and grown and grown our academic offerings. At University College, I said it, University College, a new global post-disaster recovery certificate program is available for students. At the College of Liberal Arts, a doctorate in neuroscience has been 4 years in the making, but it's here. At the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, they're proud of their new postdoc summer nursing program, one of the only a handful of those in this country that exist. And we've developed and are working on 8 new PhD programs. But if our university is about more than place, it is also about more than programs. As exciting as these programmatic developments are, there's still some things that I'm very proud of. Obviously, this university is about its people. Take, for example, our faculty. Now, Eileen Stewart-Shore in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences has led nursing students to Kenya 3 summers in a row to provide free health care to underserved men, women, and children as part of the Kenya Heart and Soul, or Afaya Njama project. And she gets home, when she gets back here to home, she also does her work here. She continues her mission to address disparities in healthcare throughout Roxbury through her Roxbury Heart and Soul program. Now in the sociology department, Stephanie Hartwell. She greeted her first-year applied sociology grad students with the announcement that they were going to spend their year working as pro bono organizational consultants for one of the community's most important nonprofits, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. Now, working together with the marvelous Tina Cherry and her staff, they identified areas for improvement, they made recommendations, organized case files, and they performed a great service for an amazing and understaffed group in our community. I'd also like to welcome officially to this university 30 new faculty members who have joined us for the 2010, 2011, 2012 academic year. They're up here. Let's give them a round of applause. Any of you all here this morning? Stand up if you're here, so we can see you. Yeah. See, I knew they had changed to the 8 o'clock block. I didn't know if they had you all teaching then or not, you know. I offer my congratulations to our 31 newly tenured professors. They also will be shown up here on the board. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to congratulate Julie Nelson and Marlene Kim, both professors of economics who have been promoted to full professor. Round of applause. I know. You're feeling like you're in Washington or something, huh? Along with Rajani Shinkoff, where's she at? Professor of English, Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs, and Director of our Honors Program. Can all three of them stand up if they're here? Congratulations. Finally, our faculty has been working overtime in securing research dollars. Extramural research funding is up nearly 22% over the last 3 years, or an average increase of over 7% per year. And in fiscal year 2011, we set a university record by obtaining nearly $54 million in sponsored awards, an almost 8% increase over fiscal year 2010. Okay, I know. A university is more than its faculty. For what would it be, and what would the University of Massachusetts Boston be without our amazing, diverse, motivated, multifaceted, multi-talented, multicultural, memorable, and marvelous students? They go out of their way to make us all look good, just like these students did today. But I have someone I'm going to embarrass right now. She's looking down. Lisa Kimball, stand up so we can see you. She's out of Worcester. Did I say that right? Okay, from Pittsburgh. This year's winner of the John W. Ryan Award, standing in front of you. We present this annually to our junior with the highest grade point average at this university. I had to admit to her earlier I was envious of her. We're going to give you your award after this ceremony today with your, and her parents are here too, so let's give them a round of applause. The 285 students enrolled in our honors program which includes the largest class of incoming freshmen in the program history, and that's 64. And those honors program students have an average grade point average of 3.5. That's something to talk about at this university. Then, I'm not done with the students yet. One more thing. Now, okay, so you're saying, but Chancellor, don't we have 16,000 plus students now? And some of you tell me it's 20 something, it feels like 30 something. Well, as for the rest of our 16,000 students, they're from 136 countries. They speak more than 90 languages. They are the most diverse student body in New England. In fact, more than 40% of our undergraduates are people of color. And to continue to attract such awesome students, we've increased our commitment to need-based financial aid by 123%, right, Ellen? Since 2010, I know you know, to a total of $14.5 million, with students receiving over $140 million in total aid, Kathy Tien, for the 2011-2012 school year. Now, that's your commitment. That's your public commitment to those students. Every single one of you, when you write me when we're talking about budget constraints, you say, don't impact our students. And we work every day not to do that. Now, I needed to pause a moment to talk about you. University is not a university without the behind-the-scenes work of its staff and or its administration. Our students and our faculty depend on our staff's hard work. They're inspiring, so it's inspiration that comes from that. They're committed, which is why I'm so glad to have on our team people like Lucia Myerson David, director of the Institute for Learning and Teaching, and David Lanchester from our facilities department. Now, these two outstanding members of our staff were awarded the Chancellor's Achievement Award for their service. And so, congratulations to both of them. I know they're hiding because, you know, that came with a big check. And the Chancellor hasn't gotten his lunch yet. Now, there's one additional staff member who I want to recognize today. Someone who's been watching my back since I got here to this university. Louise Bostic, stand up so we can see you. Now, a couple of reasons. One, she's in our procurement department, and she handles contracts. She makes sure that our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and she sends me back a whole lot of stuff because the Chancellor forgets to sign it, or she doesn't think I've read through it like I should, and her dedication is representative of so many people on this campus, and so I just wanted to use her as an example of all of you and what it feels like to be me every day, working among you. I'm honored. And it's people like you, Louise, that make it so special. And I just want to say, if you haven't noticed, your Chancellor's getting kind of swell. And that's because your girl, every day, she lets me know the soup is okay, Chancellor. You can eat that today. You don't have to go to the donuts and bagels and all that like you used to. And so I appreciate that part, too. You remind me every day of how unfortunate we are to be here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And be part of this community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. I also want to thank and recognize Provost Langley, Dean Steve Crosby, the implementation design team, you're all around this room, and then the many faculty, students, and staff who've been on a 2-year mission to develop this strategic plan. Thank you. Now imagine, if you would, the year is 2025, At the University of Massachusetts, Boston, a great public urban research university, we honor our origins as a teaching institution in our tradition of public service. At the same time, we have taken bold steps to grow in stature as a more sophisticated research university that plays a distinguished role on the global stage. We have become the university our founders destined us to be in their original statement of purpose, well equipped to provide opportunities truly equal to the best. So begins the preamble to the Fulfilling the Promise, the report of the University of Massachusetts Boston Strategic Planning Implementation Design Team. It is against the background of this bold strategic vision for our institution, 15 years hence, that we begin our reflection today on the idea of the university. Now, I've mentioned the word university no less than a dozen times in the last 10 or so minutes. But I wonder, how many times a day do we as a community use the term university without even thinking about it? You know, I work at the university. The university published a study on this or that. And the ever popular one that I hear all the time, why can't the university do something about parking, Chancellor? And as I noted, university is about more than place or administration, structure, or even people. We seem to take for granted some undefined concept of university, even as universities themselves transform, diversify, and rise in importance throughout the world. Today, I want to outline the attributes associated with the rise of universities and what they mean for our efforts to grow and strengthen the University of Massachusetts Boston. I will also explore our broader shared responsibilities to ensure that our university is preserved and advanced for today, and most importantly, for future generations. Now, the earliest universities were in China and India. Over 4,000 years ago, Shenyang established a higher school, and about 1,000 years later, the Imperial Center School was created in Beijing. In the 7th century BC, Takshila University was organized in what was then India, and in 427 BC, Buddhist monks in Bihar, India, founded the distinguished institution called Nalanda University. Now, Nalanda took its name from the Sanskrit word meaning giver of knowledge. The modern research version of the university came out of Europe with the University of Bologna in 1088 and the University of Berlin in 1810, taking the lead in shaping characteristics that have largely come to define the university. So what are these common features? Now, whether you're talking about ancient China, India, medieval Europe, or institutions of today, the idea of university has never been confined to a single geographic area, linguistic, religious, or political grouping, nor has it meant just a giver of knowledge. Why? University has come to mean a community of scholars. As a center of learning, it offers a sanctuary to both teachers and to students, a safe haven to scholars from near and from far, to test, share, and develop ideas. The knowledge produced and transmitted in these communities is broad. It is not confined to particular individuals or disciplines, even in universities where there's an emphasis on certain professions. Now, we should note that the term community of scholars also implies collegiality. I'm going to say that again. The term community of scholars also implies collegiality. The attribute that requires that members of the university are facilitating and facilitators of each other's scholarship and teaching, each other's pursuit of knowledge. Now, there are other institutions involved in the pursuit of dissemination of knowledge. I know that, like the news media, technical schools, corporations, think tanks, for some examples. Now, at first glance, they may appear to be doing what universities do. Now, however, though, for the most part, they're just dealing with the gathering and the transmittal of information. The thinking they do isn't that of a university, which has a whole other dimension. Even in our age of data overload, the task of teacher and scholar is not simply to aggregate and deliver information, or even just to make a student to expose them to certain modes of thinking and meaning. They teach the student to think and to do scientifically, mathematically, philosophically, and historically. So the defining role of the university is to inculcate the methods of thinking through information, building on it, testing it, refuting it, and even replacing it. It's not just what you know, but how you come to know it. This requires hard work on the part of both teacher and student, often creating a spiritual bond between the two. Now, ongoing encounters with the universe of modes of thinking are part of what we've come to call common learning, something to which all students should be exposed and which preferably they should be immersed. The common learning should produce 4 outcomes. 1, a familiarity with the language of the various modes of thinking. 2, an independence of mind. 3, a moral understanding and refinement. And 4, a capacity for aesthetic appreciation. Now, these 4 achievements have the ability to awaken profound powers that reside in human intellectual potential, as my dear professor did with me. They help shape a capacity for individual development. They open pathways for experiencing the complexities of nature, and they encourage pushing beyond conventional boundaries into uncharted territories. Did you think I ever dreamed of standing before you as chancellor until someone told me that I could? The university is limited only by its participants' capacities to imagine what is not. We're limited by our capacity to imagine what is not and somehow bring it into being. That's what I'm asking you to do at Bayside. That's what I'm asking you to do as we look at this campus. Imagine what is not and help bring it to being. Don't get in the way of that. Allied to the area of common learning is that of the unity of teaching and of research. Now, prior to the 19th century, universities, with the notable exception of Nalanda, were largely defined by private scholars or research institutes that were separated from the teaching function. According to that narrow interpretation, those who taught did not necessarily do research or original thinking. And if by chance they did both teach and do research, they surely did not share their research findings with their students. The principle of unity of research and teaching, which we wholeheartedly embrace on this campus, requires that they be made inseparable, that the teacher, professor, and the student share in both. And that's what I love about being here. It's from this principle, incidentally, that the modern seminar has evolved. The idea that undergraduate students can also be scholars, contributing to original thinking, is not one that is generally shared even today. Some basic knowledge and information do have to be imparted, but students should not be viewed simply as empty vessels waiting to be filled. Rather, we should view them as potential co-creators of knowledge. The co-discovery I'm suggesting here is the best means by which independence is inspired and achieved. Co-discovery is how students become actors rather than being acted upon. It is also how students come to regard themselves as junior scholars, having capabilities similar to those of their professors. This reinforces the interdependence of professor and student and augments the ever-expanding sphere of knowledge. Beside the unity of teaching and research, the university is associated with another compound principle, that of autonomy of the university and academic freedom. Now, you all know that the two are intertwined. Autonomy refers to the need of the university to govern itself, to operate outside of government control. Although the history of universities suggests they are always subject to some form of regulation, as we know well. Academic freedom means the right of members of the university community to resist any form of ideological conformity, to engage in speech and other forms of expression, to disagree, to tolerate the sense that go to the heart of fundamental beliefs and preconceptions, to praise all things critically, and promote inquiry into all areas of human learning and human experience. Academic freedom is intended to allow unencumbered pursuit of scholarship and teaching, permitting research to move along paths recommended by the evidence, even if that evidence contradicts the most revered values of society. Now, remember how Darwin's theory of evolution violated fundamental Christian teaching and beliefs? Academic freedom also permits what John Stuart Mill called the opportunity to exchange truth for error, an exchange which in all cases benefits individuals and societies. And since the university is supposed to be the site of universal learning, its members should in turn enjoy freedom of thought and enjoy freedom of conscience, freedom of opinion, and freedom of expression, which includes the right to hold opinion without interference. The right to hold opinion without interference, and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media, regardless of frontiers. Now, what I just said is a direct quote from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which every organ of society, especially universities, should uphold as a sacred responsibility. Oh, Chancellor, you're getting so abstract. I can't believe it. What, you getting old or something? You maturing? No. This is not an abstract discussion. Remember the Wisconsin Republican Party's attempt last spring to get all of the University of Wisconsin history professor William Cronin's emails. That could be you or me, to see if he was involved in political activity. The university stood by him. They didn't run away, decrying this egregious violation of academic freedom. A university also has the primary responsibility to care for the intellectual capital that contributes to culture and civilization. This is its conservation function. This work is not just a passive storing of data, as many of us do. It entails continuing efforts to ensure the integrity of our collective cultural inheritance, especially the language and the modes of thinking that I mentioned earlier. The conservation attribute also means updating and correcting where there are flaws. If it's a flaw, fix it. Reorganizing when there's disorder. If we need to reorganize, reorganize. Refining to make more intelligible. And even amending where the knowledge proves incomplete. It's an unending process, in other words. It's on and on and on. That's what this life is about. Along with the unity of research and teaching and the fostering of trans and interdisciplinarity, it helps to define university and especially to distinguish ours. So, we have the university as a community of scholars and students, a repository of common learning, and a principal conservator of our common cultural heritage. Now, there are two other attributes I'd like to address. First, the university as a primary source of renewal and revitalization. And second, the university as leader in the construction, maintenance, and refiner of the public sphere. Now, we see renewal in its simplest form as annually our young graduates go into the labor force in effect to seed the growth of our businesses, our hospitals, our police forces, our teaching corps, and other institutions, including our laboratories. Roughly 75% of the University of Massachusetts Boston graduates stay right here in Massachusetts to work and are vital in helping this Bay State companies and Bay State companies all over this Commonwealth renew their competitive advantage. Now, indeed, many of those companies' research and training depends almost entirely on what takes place in their local university. Universities also spur renewal through the turnover of faculty as new tenure lines are developed, new curricula are offered, and as older faculty retire or reorient their professional lives. But issues of economic well-being and workforce development are not and should never be the principal aim or expression of revitalization and renewal. The university is and should be concerned with much, much, much more. The renewal function entails cultivating an environment where errors are routinely exposed, where the intellect can safely roam over ever-widening areas of speculation, verified and unverified claims, where human beings can expand the borders of knowledge, where professors and students can investigate the nature and meaning of text and cultural developments. This is an environment to enrich the imagination and indeed to provide novel possibilities for human fulfillment. In short, universities bring the wisdom of the ages, the universe of knowledge, to create our individual and collective future. We, as a university, are no less than the creators of the future. Finally, I turn to a vital, if sometimes overlooked purpose, especially for public research universities. Now, Wendell Berry captured some of this when he wrote, "Universities, at least the public-supported ones, are mandated to make or help to make human beings in the fullest sense of those words, not just trained workers or knowledgeable citizens, but responsible heirs and members of human culture." Now, it may not be explicit in our mission statement, but is it not a purpose of the university, our universities, to foster and launch good human beings? In doing so, we see the university as a shaper of the public sphere. This sphere is the place between the priorities of society's official governing authorities and the atomized concerns of families, workplaces, and individuals. It's the gap between state power and private interest. It's the arena in which the needs and values of each are mediated. Now, this public sphere has expanded over time. It includes society's organs of information and discourse, print and electronic media, meeting halls and coffee houses, voluntary associations, and political parties. Now, regrettably, the reality of the public sphere concept doesn't live up to its idealized description as the place for rational discussion and debate, and a forum for critical inquiry on behalf of civil society. Not by a long shot. At different times, in different societies, the public sphere has actually been closed to different groups: ethnic or racial minorities, women, the poor, the disabled, gays, and non-citizens. The greater problem today is the tone and the willful ignorance of so many participants in the public sphere. Look at the mindless, rancorous, malevolent, indeed toxic, debt-ceiling debate. Our political discourse shows a sickening lack of civility, a hyper-partisan disdain for government, and a sneering contempt for public service, and all of you public servants. At the same time, the public sphere has been experiencing some disturbing contractions, even with an increase in media outlets, including Twitter, Facebook, and Wikipedia. There is a gobbling up of the small by the large, and a corporate consolidation of news and entertainment. Public opinion itself is often less the organic articulation and exchange of heartfelt views than a cynical manipulation of polls and information gathering. It's used more for marketing purposes than to seek the consent of the governed. Too often, we shrink from commonly available and shared communication to self-ghettoization of news and information sources and cultural choices. It's easier to turn to what we agree. Conservatives go to Fox, liberals go to MSNBC, and even the twain and never the twain shall meet, losing opportunities for us to learn from each other. But the answer isn't to move away fearfully from an informed clash of ideas to a lowest common denominator approach, because to do so will diminish us. Universities, especially public universities, have a crucial role in shaping the character of the public sphere. We must not shrink and shirk our responsibility to inculcate the values of local and global citizenship, including those of courage, inclusion, and the respect for the environment. Our own history professor, Woodruff Smith, citing the importance of the university in the public sphere, has observed, quote, "For some students, university studies were preparation for later engagement, sometimes as producers and analysts of ideas, and most frequently as thoughtful readers and occasional discussants. For others, it is the high point of their involvement in serious conversations, seldom again to be approached in intensity, whether from lack of interest or because of scarcity of structures outside the university that continuously supported the public conversation. In a real sense, much of what I've outlined today is captured in the emphasis that President Corrett has brought to our system. Our commitment to shaping the public sphere is echoed in his call to produce an educated citizenry and to exercise concern for the social well-being of the universe. The concentration on producing original research speaks to his goal of a world-class research leveraging this system. In the 4 outcomes of common learning, among other things, promote his profound concern for student success and for narrating our story. The university has the role of cultivating the habit of thinking. It assumes a critical responsibility of generating a respect for public service and for public regardingness. It ensures that those who pass through the halls and the classrooms represent the broadest diversity of humankind, ethnic, social, gender, national, racial, religious, linguistic, conceptual, experiential, and other aspects of our evolving global society. In short, universities not only shape and sustain the public sphere, they and we are also authors of democracy. We don't know what the ultimate outcome will be of the various democracy-oriented protests that shaped this year's Arab Spring, but we do know that throughout history, whether we're talking about 1848 or 1968, Prague, Mexico City, Selma, or Tiananmen Square, students and their mentors have been in the vanguard of movements to open up their societies and usher in democratic reforms. Simply being active is not enough. As Professor Smith notes, more people must take an intelligent part in public discourse. But to do so, they actually have to know something. Not just parrot what they hear on talk radio. They must be able to formulate and articulate their ideas like our students did earlier in a compelling way. Our challenge is to foster among all our students thoughtful analysis and informed decision-making, which will make more likely positive action, enlightened and authentic public opinion, and majority rule that respects opposing views and minority rights. And so I say to you today, never underestimate the significance of what we do at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. The meaning of university helps to express the fullest meaning of our lives. The university as a community of co-discoverers, transmitters and creators of knowledge, transformers of how we think, conservators and challengers of cultural values, shapers of the public sphere, and liberators of human potential. These are roles with which we as a university are entrusted today. We are charged with using all these attributes and creating a future for our institution, for our people, for our region, and for our global neighbors. We at the University of Massachusetts, Boston are a student-centered, urban, public research university. We are the noblest of institutions. We are engaged in the most challenging of purposes. We are devoted to fulfilling the most sacred of missions. I call on each of you to remember this each and every day and to lead the way for our campus and for our community, our commonwealth, and for this world. After all, we are the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and I'm so proud and honored to be your chancellor.